Hey everyone! So, if you have been seeing my posts, you may have seen that I am hosting a new offering, Friday Night Lives, on Zoom. This is so that we can do another way for group readings. I can hang out with you, see your faces, and go much deeper than we're able to go here on Instagram Live. So, these are group readings just like I would do before the pandemic when I would go to someone's home, except now it's open to anyone, whether you guys know each other or not, through online land, through Zoom. And there are limited spaces available per week because I want to be sure that everybody gets a decent chunk of time to have their question answered. And after everyone has a chance to have their initial top priority question answered, we can hang out, have some fun, answer some more questions. They're going to be about 2.5 hours on Friday nights. I'm not going to be doing them every single Friday. I will be announcing them, but it will be the same link that you'll be able to click in my bio, which is 𝇳𝓹𓋹𓓓/products/Friday Night Lights, and there will be new dates updated there every time as to when the next one will be. You can purchase up to 6 p.m. Eastern Time on that Friday, and as soon as you purchase, you'll actually be taken to a digital downloads page where you will get a photo giving you your Zoom access code link so that you can hop right in that particular Friday night. So tonight was going to be the first one, but as this is a very new offering and Spirit gave me the idea to announce it quite late compared to tonight, Friday, not anyone joined this week, which is okay. I understand, and I wanted to be honest about that because I want you guys to know that can happen very easily when you are in service and when you are posting offerings. It happens all the time, no matter how big of an audience that you have and no matter how many clients you have. So I just wanted to share that. But the next one is going to be, the next one is going to be next Friday night, the 15th, so you can hop in there. It's currently the most affordable way to work with me live through that Friday Nights Live portion. Oh, I miss you too. How are you feeling? I'm glad that you can come in. I hope you're feeling better. But yeah, so that's Friday Night Lives. We're going to be doing that, live readings, absolutely everything from past lives to current situations, relationship, twin flame, starseed stuff, normal stuff, loved ones in spirit, whatever you want to get into. We'll be doing that on Friday nights. So the next one is next Friday night. And I have an announcement as well. I am relaunching the Twin Flame Energy Healing course intensive program. So the next scheduled event for that is going to be April 24th. We're going to switch them up to Sundays, and as you guys know, you heard me talking about it, and some of you here experienced it. The first one finished up this past weekend. It was very successful, and I loved so much getting to experience that with the handful of you that were lucky enough and fortunate enough for me as well to experience being the first group through this type of event. So I'm very proud to be relaunching it and adding some things to it as well. So we're going to be doing that live on Sunday, April 24th, and then again a week later on May the 1st. So that is a 2-day intensive, but it's split apart by a week. Last time it was 2 weeks. I'm going to do 1 week this time because May the 1st, which is a week after we start, is May Day, and it is a day of the sacred flame, of the sacred fire. It's a day traditionally in paganism where our ancestors used to walk their animals through two flames and through that set of fire to bless and protect them. And so the energy of that really wanted to come through, and we'll just add another layer of blessing to the program for those of you that are twin flames or have resonated in the past as twin flames and are looking to move forward and detoxify yourself and even detach, if you feel comfortable using that word, from the toxicity of the twin flame templates that have limited us and held us back for so long. It's a really powerful program. We're working with the soul wheel to re-understand what twin flame is and how it's been mistranslated, miscommunicated, and misused throughout really throughout the community, which has promoted a lot of toxicity and codependency. So we're working to reset that. We also reset your divine mirror and call it back to you, because we know that the twin flame relationship acts as a divine mirror. But what happens when that person is no longer consenting to be around and a part of the experience anymore, or you've just lived it to fullest capacity and you're both ready to move forward, is it's really helpful to reset and call that mirror back to you so you can reset yourself and your soul and your whole life as your divine mirror, instead of looking to this other person and that relationship to be your divine mirror. So that's something that a lot of people in the program this time really got a lot of benefit out of. It's really powerful, as well as what I feel the most powerful part is the soul apologies portion, where we work to get you the apologies that your soul never received on a conscious or physical level, either from those people, from the universe at large, for being a part of an experience that may have failed you, or may appear as though it's failed you. And a lot of emotions and stuck energies come out with that energy healing. It's also why I like to set a period of time, integrative time, in between the 2 days of the 2-day intensive. So while a lot of 2-day intensives will be consecutive, this one has that period in between so that you can integrate the healing, because so much continues to come up for people. I know I was hearing from people in the program, particularly during the first 4 days after they took part in the energy healing portion, which is a pretty standard thing. The first 3-4 days after any energy healing modality you do, you can pretty much expect some clear out or healing symptoms. Now, the way we do it in this divine container, and because it's apologies, you can expect less of those, but it's really different for everyone. So I like to build that into the container so that everyone has the support that they need while they're experiencing that. And then we do the questions and readings portion afterwards on the second day, so that you can ask your questions from a place of power and a place where you've already integrated the healing, so that you kind of don't have to ask your questions twice, because some of those questions are automatically answered by the integrative healing that we do. And so then when we do question and answer period and readings on day 2, you can ask those questions from that new, more powerful place. So any of you who would like to join that, the link is the same link we used before, and it's also in my bio. So that's damseldesigns.com/products/twinflamehealing. I'm really excited about doing that going forward. But I wanted to talk about a whole bunch of things tonight. So if you visit my site, you'll also notice that I finally was able to update it and add the Akashic Records reading. So we work with the Akashic Record, of course, in really everything I do, but also in that twin flame healing. But these Akashic Records reading are broad spectrum. They're for any issue that you might be experiencing, whether you've ever resonated as a twin or not. And I find that the Akash is very, very open right now. It's opening itself to a lot more people with the new levels of awakening that are happening. So you'll notice if you visit my website that I combined in the listing past and parallel life readings with Akashic Records readings, because, you know, I am accessing the Akash to read your past life anyway. So I like to have them capsulated in the same container. If you're just drawn to the past life portion or just the Akashic Records portion, that's okay. It's just that you're going to get the added benefit of both. But yeah, in that listing, you can read more. I talk about some of my experience with the Akashic Record and my awakening to it, and my awakening to the fact that I was new to that language, to that term, and that use of the word. But working with it is really something that I've done my whole life. I was just doing it, not necessarily unconsciously, but again, without the definition and the language of the Akash. So I didn't know in terms of what to call it, what I was doing. But visiting the Akashic Records, the libraries, that's something that I've done in my dreams this whole life, and it's something that I've worked for many lifetimes. So if you didn't know, 𝑓, like my website, 𝑓 Designs, those are my initials, and so the A stands for my middle name, which is Alexandria. So that's a name I actually gave my mother during pregnancy a announcement dream, it's called, through the help of a spirit loved one of hers. And so I use the name Danielle, which I've talked about before. That's resonant with Daniel and the lions, and Durga and Sekhmet and all that lion, Lyran, starseed connection. But the Alexandria was for Alexandria, Egypt, and the library that we had there, which I was a part of, which mirrored the Akashic Records library that is in the ethers, that is part of the universe. So the Akashic library can look different to absolutely everyone because it is a space of ether, it's a space of spirit, and it's multidimensional. So some people will experience the library as containing things like scrolls, very old school. Some people will experience it containing tablets, right? Very familiar to a lot of people are the emerald tablets of Thoth or Tahuti. Some people will experience it as traditional library-looking books, or I've even heard of people going and seeing racks and racks of CDs, you know, if that's the technology that you're most familiar with. They have added, I have seen and experienced as well, computers, because people are used to seeing that. So much the way God's face or goddess's face will change and adjust itself to appear to you however your soul most needs it to appear. The same thing with the library. It will adjust itself to work with you in a way and in a language that is best for your soul and your spirit and your experience, so that it's not a shock to your system, and so that you can absorb the information that you need to without having to take too much apart in terms of how things are looking. So in Egypt, in ancient Egypt, what we worked to do with the Library of Alexandria was bridge the gap and bring as much of that information as possible into a physical space and into a metaphysical school type place. And that is unfortunately why it was burned, very famously, because the world was just not quite ready to have that information in the physical again. We've had similar libraries in the experience of Atlantis and Lemuria as well. They looked quite differently then because of different technologies. But again, those libraries fell because different things, interplanetary wars, just the preparedness and readiness of humanity, and misuse of having records in a physical space, in a physical place. But what's happening now, as we're on the dawning of the age of the Aquarius, is a lot more people are reawakening to their connection with the library, because absolutely everyone has a connection. Everyone has access to their own Akash. It's just really about learning how to read, open, and interact with the records and understand them properly. So that's something else that I go into on the listing for the Akashic Records readings, is because most of the time when we're looking at the Akashic Record, we're looking to read and understand our past and our past lives so that we can understand our patterns and heal our traumas and things and break any vows of limits that may be holding us back. A lot of times, a lot of people get drawn to Akashic Records work because of fears that they have or traumas that they have that they can't quite place. So for example, a lot of light workers will carry the witch wound, whether they were a witch or not, but whether they were people that were burned or killed because of their gifts in a past life. So a lot of people who have gifts now will come to the Akashic Record because maybe they have a fear of fire or a very large affinity to fire, or they just remember that burning and that persecution. I find that a lot of people, at least in earlier days, will wake up to the Akashic Record because of a trauma and because of seeing a repeated pattern in their life and wanting to understand where that's coming from and how they can stop that from continuing to project into their present life and stop it in its tracks so that it doesn't have to continue projecting into the future that we're working to create and co-create. Another thing as well is because a lot of people come to it for past life work, if they don't come to it for trauma, they'll probably come to it to understand relationships, right? Because in the Akashic Record, we can read how we were connected with several people where we may feel either a twin flame or soulmate connection with someone, or a karmic connection with someone, a repeating pattern, even if it's not the same soul, a repeating pattern of how we experience and create and receive relationships. So that's something else that we can work on by understanding the Akash. And I do on my site answer the biggest question that I get about past lives, which is, why does everyone think that they were someone famous? So as someone who has done past life work really from the beginning, I never had that disbelief in it like other people, because I came into this life remembering many of my other lives. Including parallel lives, right? Because parallel lives are things like starseed, fae, multidimensional experiences. So that was something that was always very innate to who I was. That belief and those memories were very visceral for me. It was very hard, actually, for me to integrate into this lifetime, into this body and this persona, because of remembering so many of my past lives. And a big part of me doing that was also so that I could start reading for people at a very early age. So I started doing that as a teenager, and obviously most of the people I read for were older than me, and I needed to have that past life experience and those memories so that I could relate to the information that I was conveying. So I ended up reading for a lot of mothers, in very deep connection to my own self as a mother. And I started reading for a lot of people who had lost children, because again, I could speak to them not just as my teenage self at the age when I was starting readings, but I could speak to them from the level of someone who had been through that and someone who was purely connecting with their energy through their Akashic Record as well. But the main question, like I said, of why do so many people believe or get told that they were someone famous, I love that Spirit helped me to answer that in real concrete terms on the listing for the Akashic Records readings. And I encourage you to read that even if you're not interested in a session at this time, because it's something that's not spoken about enough, and unfortunately it hinders a lot of people from experiencing themselves in terms of fully believing in past lives, because what's happened is the past life experience has been kind of tainted by this large number of people who believe and preach themselves to be or have been famous in previous lives, because it's just, not possible for so many Cleopatras to have been, for example. Although sometimes there are soul fractal experiences, which is a whole nother matter. For the most part, what is happening when people believe themselves to be someone famous is, sure, every once in a while it does happen, but for the most part what happens is people are misunderstanding the information they're receiving. So remember, just like I said, how the Akashic record can adjust itself to appear however the soul needs it to appear. A lot of people go into the record not understanding and not maybe doing their due diligence in terms of how the record is trying to speak to them or speak to them for the client. And it's not that people aren't gifted, it's not necessarily that they don't know what they're doing, but it's the fact of human nature that we like to try to latch on to, I guess, the best case scenario. So in other words, because the library is malleable in how it speaks to us and how it shows us things, it's going to work in signs and symbols. So what happens is the record may show someone a famous face or a famous place or a famous persona, and the reader or the person reading their own record may get so just naturally excited to see that famous person, that famous face, and feel immediate connection and resonance that they may bypass, accidentally most times, they may bypass the next step of diving deeper and seeing, okay, are you actually showing me that person because that's who it was, or are you showing me that as a sign and a symbol? So just the same way a million people could pull a tarot card and get the same tarot card, that doesn't mean everyone is the Empress. It means that the Empress has a message which will be different for everyone, which is why readers know you never just go from the meaning of the card, you go for the meaning of what that card is speaking to in the moment and in the circumstance. So what a lot of people don't do is they don't go further than just the famous face, because they get, like I said, excited, and it's understandable. Most times when we're seeing the famous face, it's coming up as an archetype, just like a tarot card might. And so either the archetype is the closest thing to that person's experience, and we can use it to dive further into their truth, or some cases it's being a symbol of being from that time period, being from that area of the world, and sometimes it's because we knew that soul, and it may be easier for people to accept that they were that soul than it would be for people to accept that they were that soul's soldier, handmaiden, driver, chef, whatever, aunt, uncle, whatever it is, right? And people tend to just attach to the best case scenario instead of seeing things from the higher perspective. And then, unfortunately, what can happen is if people attach to that scenario of the famous face rather than diving further, they can accidentally and inadvertently dive into that soul's record, so meaning the famous person's record, and start to kind of read that and merge the two, and it gets kind of all cloudy. And then confirmation bias can come up in terms of the client or that person may start to see some sort of false synchronicity continuing to link them to the person, when the universe is really just bringing it up so that they can say, hey, you didn't dive far enough. I'm bringing it up again so you dive further and see who you actually were. Let's keep going here. But the person misreads the signs and symbols and thinks, oh, the universe is confirming for me again that I was that famous person. And sometimes it's true, but most of the time it's not. And as someone who has read for a lot of people, you know, I can tell you that most of the time it's a connection based on time period. Or like, to use the example of Cleopatra, that's come up a lot of times when people, that would be their closest resonance or their closest sign and symbol to understand a powerful woman in Egypt, right? So it's not necessarily that the record is trying to say that the person was Cleopatra. It's saying that the person was a very powerful woman in Egypt. Or sometimes it's saying they were her handmaiden or a soldier in her army, or just someone who lived in the same time period as her, or maybe had the same kind of background in terms of Cleopatra was a Ptolemy, so she was both Greek and Egyptian, you know, and had a combined history and lineage, so it could be saying things like that. It's a whole host of things. But, you know, I've gotten that before, and I've gotten some people actually as well who have believed or have been told that they were the wrong people. And it's very sad to me when that happens, because while it can still have purpose, because sometimes people need to believe that they were someone famous in order to build confidence or establish further, you know, connection with themselves. For the most part, what it does is it takes people on a longer, twisty, turny journey, which is not meant to rhyme, but it does, so that's fun. And it just confuses the issue. It can create more karma, actually, because the person will try to claim that energy, which is not really theirs, and it could create a lot of confusion. So most of the time, luckily, the universe autocorrect. All of the time the universe autocorrects, but it's just a longer journey sometimes if people receive the wrong information or the misinformation. And because so many people are coming online to awaken to another level now, the Akasha is opening its doors more and inviting more people in, but also inviting people to learn, you know, and try to learn the correct way so that you can read it right the first time and act on that information correctly the first time. Because if you have the misinformation, what happens is you go on that soul journey that takes you on twists and turns. Sometimes you create more karma, and we know the goal is to have less, but sometimes you create more karma. And also, people get very attached then to former selves because they were famous, or potential or incorrect selves who were famous, and they don't live correctly now. And it's hard enough for average soul to live correctly now when you're carrying so much history and truth or trauma. But when people do this, they often devote so much of their life to that, or trying to reestablish that they miss the point of being alive now, and they miss the point of being reincarnated, and they forget the fact that lives end when they end for a reason, linear or not, and we're not meant to just hop in and continue them. Even though we may continue certain relationships or certain journeys or certain lessons or patterns, ultimately the goal is to stop continuing and copying and repasting things and evolve and heal and rise. And it's not to say that all relationships that we've had in past lives end, but they're meant to evolve and stop carrying or creating karma, so that we get to a place where we can merge back with source, where we're balanced, where we don't have those cords of attachment on us anymore, which is a big thing that we do in the twin flame healing, and we can have equal and balanced and freeing relationships with ourselves, with the universe, and with others, rather than keeping reestablishing things because of karmas and things that have been. So that was a big download. I hope you enjoyed that. I'm going to save this if you want to listen to it again. But again, you can read more about that and my thoughts on that and my journey with the records on the Akashic Records reading page, which is on my site and linked in the bio. But while you're here, do you have any questions about the Akashic Record, or based on anything I've said, or your experiences with it? Kind of everyone has some experience to a certain extent in dreams. Again, like I said, even if you're not totally conscious of that's where you are going. Sometimes I will also say the records and the library looks like a schoolroom. So almost everybody has experience with school dreams. A lot of times when people are having school dreams, they are actually visiting a different form of the library. So if you don't think you've gone, but you've had a whole host of school dreams in your life, your soul has probably taken you there. And that's something that we could do in session, like I said. But yeah, so if you don't have questions about that, I would be happy to also do some mini readings. Like I said, I was going to do that Friday night lights live tonight, so I wanted to share some knowledge and give some mini readings. So if anybody has a simple question, we could dive into that here, or you can save it for next week on Zoom, or I actually have quickie quantum readings on the website now as well, which you can get a quickie reading by recording anytime, as well as spirit animal medicine mini readings anytime, and full-length sessions. And I've been busy updating the website with a lot of different types of things and different offerings and, you know, ways to help, because it's time. You know, it's time to offer all the ways and to open up more in this space and to help, you know, so many who are awakening to new levels. Even if you've been awakened for a long time, we're always awakening to new levels, which is fun. Doesn't feel fun always at the time, you know, because sometimes we go through dark night of the soul or ego death in order to awaken to the next level. But right now, I actually have seen a lot of other people also speaking about the records and having workshops and things, and Spirit's bringing it up big time. So if you've been seeing it, you know, they're calling to you. And there are a lot of things you could do, like on YouTube, to access your own records. But again, please do so with carefulness and reverence and respect for yourself and your team, and take everything with a grain of salt at first while you're learning to understand that language, so that you're doing so safely. And always remember to open and close them while surrounding yourself with light, because you don't want anything accessing you while you're in that state. But I'm actually shuffling fairy cards right now. So if anyone has a question for the fae or the fairies, they're very active as well. That's a fun part of those type of readings too, because doing past and parallel life, which is, again, these are things I've done for clients for many years, but I'm new to creating my own website and offering things in a larger space, so I'm happy to be able to have them on the website finally, so that all of you that I love connecting with can experiencing them too. But I was really drawn to list that as past and parallel life, because there are so many of us who are already awakened to the fact that we have parallel lives as starseed or multidimensional, or with the fae. So these are beautiful cards, which I don't always use cards when I read. You'll see if you get an Akashic Records reading, I'm scribbling probably the whole time, because I'm downloading in that way and doing kind of automatic writing. But when I do lives like this, I love to use the cards because I think it helps people connect with the energy more, and also because we're not having a dialogue back and forth with your face or with your voice. You know, it helps fine-tune that energy and give you something as well to latch onto and visualize. So yeah, this one came out. This is 6 of Summer. I know the writing is backwards, but this is childlike innocence, and inner child stuff are things that we go into a great deal in the records, but also in my quantum reading sessions. You know, that's really huge. Inner child work and traumas. And something else that's interesting is I have never found an inner child wound that is not linked to a past life, the same way I have never found a past life issue that is not also linked to an inner child wound. So that really speaks to the multidimensionality of ourselves and our souls, and how far we go to reprint things. So it doesn't matter which end of the spectrum you come at things from, right? A lot more people who are very logical and are very science-based, or who are more familiar with mindfulness work and traditional therapy, will probably come at things first from the inner child perspective, whereas people who are more inclined to spirituality may come at things first from the past life perspective when an issue or a trauma comes up. But the way that Spirit has taught me to work is you work with both, so that you go from both ends of the spectrum and you collapse the issue completely, because you know, every issue that we have a past life issue on that we're carrying forward, has an uncanny ability of reprinting itself as an issue that we experience again in this childhood. And so whether you understand and have a belief system that says that your psyche is being blocked and confused and clouded because of a past life, or whether you are more in line with traditional science and brain science and spirituality and psychology rather, that says that what happens to us in childhood reprints and affects us the rest of our life. I find that actually both are true, and we work on it to reset those belief systems and heal those traumas from both levels, because like I said, it's an uncanny ability how they reprint, and how we attract as well parents and caretakers who will traumatize or neglect or mistreat or just not know how to care for us in the right way, quote unquote, because the way that they're caring for us is a direct reflection of probably what we've experienced before or what we need to learn to heal and get out of. Not that it's ever our fault. And I will say also, those parents and those caretakers always do have the option to stop the pattern and the cycle with us and not carry those things forward. It's just that most parents and caretakers don't come into parenting with the awareness to do that. However, good news, even though most of us who are listening to this and alive right now have not had the experience where parents were very conscious or in control of their own wounds or respectful of ours, parents nowadays, people that are becoming parents now, are more inclined to be conscious parents and be very respectful of their children as souls in their own right. And because parents now are very into healing themselves and stopping the cycle, going forward, there's going to be less and less of that traumatic and karmic imprinting on children going forward. So that's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out in the world. And it is always something that families can work on together, no matter the age of the parent and the child. It's really never too late to take responsibility for behavior that was done or not done in childhood. And I really love when parents and children come to me together. I've had that a few times. If you're interested in that, you can use the Quantum Couples session that I have on my website. It's not just for romantic couples. But there are more and more people where the parent and the child will go to therapy together or go to a spiritual teacher or reader or healer together and work to stop those cycles together, rather than just one person in the family having all the weight and having all the responsibility to stop the cycles. So if you're here, you're probably that one person, like I have been that one person. But just to give you a little bit of hope in the world again, it's happening more and more that, as more souls awaken, there are more people willing to go through that process together and heal both themselves and each other, and stop those cycles in the family lines without needing the black sheep to do it. So no shame in being the black sheep. You're the yin sheep. You're not the dark energy sheep. Most of the time, families that, the people in families that treat people like the black sheep, those are the souls that are not willing to awaken, not willing to be responsible for their energy and their wrongdoings and their own personal soul wounds. So that's unfortunate, but it's not our job to save everyone, which is why a lot of spiritual people will be kind of loners or not accepted by their own family, and why we find connection in others more easily and in attracting our soul family back to us, whether they are blood or not. And that's a beautiful thing. Let's see this card that wanted to come out to add to that message. This is the Chariot, but in fairy form. So that means, the Fae are acknowledging that we are moving forward, that the process is changing in our favor, albeit slowly, and too slowly probably, for the most part, for those of us who are impatient and sometimes a little sad that we didn't get to experience the process that the younger generation is, but we were a key part of that process and in bringing that process into the world. So that's why everyone doing their own healing work and being committed to their own healing and consciousness raising is what contributes to the consciousness raising of the planet. So that's why, when people ask me what's the biggest thing they could do with their gifts or with their new awareness levels, it's really always to continue the commitment of working on yourself. And even though we're taught that that's selfish, that's the biggest difference in terms of energy, because if you just show up, of course it's very honoring to want to be of service and to be of service and to donate your energy or your time or your creations, but if we don't do things in balance, we're creating a deficit somewhere, and if we don't continue the commitment of working on ourselves, we're eventually going to burn out and not have that impact of light that we want to have. So that's why it's always important to simultaneously continue your own work at the same time as you're doing other things for the world and for the collective and doing offerings and all of that. Now, for the most part, you may feel that your soul is guiding you on that journey anyway, but it's helpful to have that commitment so that your soul doesn't have to give you big nudges to take care of it or to do those workings. So big nudges would be things like dark night of the soul, power moments, upheavals, things to get your attention back to that work, just the same way as if you don't take time to rest or integrate. Your body will do it for you and you'll get sick or something will happen that will cause you to need that rest anyway. So everyone gets caught up in the moment of life and sometimes loses the commitment to honor those things, but we can have less of those moments where the universe gives us the big light bulb or the flashing sign by doing it for us when we commit to asking what we need to do and honoring what we need to do to continue to honor and cultivate and heal our own selves and our own light. And then when we do that, things flow a lot more freely, a lot more quickly. When we can accept that some things don't work out for a reason, then we can move into something else that's maybe more fitting for the moment. So just the same way as, I announced the Friday Night Lights quite late this week, and so nobody opted in this week. It gave me the opportunity to update the website more so that I can have more of those offerings clearly available to you, and to hang out tonight so that people can hop in next week for really in-depth group readings there. So everything happens for a reason. But all right, well, unless somebody has a question, I'm probably gonna go soon. I do have a bunch of cards. If you have a question, feel free to ask. But I did also want to we'll just pull a collective card too before I go. I've been really called back to decks that I haven't used in a long time, so I don't always use deck. Most of the time I'm connecting through the Akashic or intuition or just spirit and beings that come to me. But I like to use them more and more because, being an artist as well, I love the artwork and I love the way cards can present a different perspective to us as well as the visual. So I've been exploring, things that I haven't used in a long time. And I've been called back to the Power deck, which is a deck I got probably 15 years ago, very at the beginning of my reading for others, and I was told to get it by someone who was attempting to mentor me at the time. That didn't really work out because I didn't appreciate their codependency actually practices with their clients, but the Power deck worked out, even though I didn't use it much over the years. It's this deck that has beautiful full writings on it and images as well, and it has this really in-depth full book, and it actually connects with the directions as well, which is something that I do daily, connect with the energy of the directions and of the elements. And I've been re-downloading more of which deities like particular directions. So, for example, the West is a direction that Amun-Ra and the setting sun deities like. It's also a direction that Hathor likes and appreciates, Lady of the West. 𝑇�𝑋🔹📴, I also resonate with the West because she is a goddess of moisture, and the West in most traditions stands for the water, and undines, which are nature spirits of the water. Just like in the East, we have our air spirits. We have 𝑇�𝑋🔹📴 consort Shu, which is the god of air. And so I really love connecting the directions as well. It may be something you're called to do as part of your morning practice. I know that there are religious traditions that tap into and connect with the directions anyway. Muslim prayer, often you will honor in certain direction, and of course native and indigenous medicine, you'll also call the directions, as well as Egyptian and Kemetic religious tradition and medicine. So I have been really tapping back into that, and it's also something that helps me to ground, because being a starseed and having so many other lives, I was really sure in this life that this was the last time that I wanted to come back around to this planet, while it's in this frequency at least. But I was very adamant that I did not want to reincarnate again. I did so, really for a lot of the other souls that I knew and loved that were still here. But that's why it's always honestly been hard for me to ground, because there is so much of my soul that, is ready to move on and doesn't really like the earth experience, which I know resonates for a lot of you, especially starseeds. And so grounding, even though it's so crucial and important and a part of so many practices, it's still not the most comfortable thing for me. It's something that I have to be diligent with in my practice, because we all need to be grounded while we're on earth and while we're working to manifest things, right? We have to be grounded in order to ground those things that we want to manifest. But yeah, so I've been looking for more ways to fine-tune my morning grounding practice, let's say. And something that's been really helpful is connecting with each of the directions. I often do a medicine wheel, which is a Native American or Indigenous American tradition. If you've listened before, I have a lot of connection with Spirit Tribe and Self and Soul Family with the Indigenous, and honor them as much as I can. But it's really helpful to me, because grounding, when it's not just about grounding in being on earth, and grounding instead as seeing and honoring and recognizing the elements and the directions, helps me to connect with the parts of me that are body and those powerful elements and the power of me, and gives me things to connect with and look forward to and feel comfortable with, rather than thinking of the pressures and the density of earth life, thinking of the beauty of those directions and the beauty of those elements and elementals that are in those directions, and appreciating that I get to be in the center of it. So that's something that may be helpful to you if you find it hard or difficult to ground, especially some days are harder than others to ground. But while I was sharing that, I did get a power deck card, and I got the reflection of the phone. But this is a beautiful painting, and actually, yes, of course, that's an eagle. An eagle there. If you follow my stories and such, you know that I've been working a lot with owl, but also eagle medicine. And speaking of my indigenous soul tribe and soul family and lives of my own, eagle is something huge a part of my soul that they've been bringing to me. It's actually the clan that I was from in one of my indigenous lives. It's also a representative of one of my family members in spirit. Eagle is huge. I just also found out that there is an area near where I am on Long Island that has eagles integrated again, that we're working to protect here, and they haven't been in these areas for decades and decades, so that's really exciting. But yeah, this is a beautiful image where eagles there. Eagles are symbols of power, of clarity, of perspective, and they're also representatives of spirit and love. So, for example, in the indigenous clan, like I was speaking about, they are a representative of the clan of spirit, the clan of love. They are representative of great spirit's love. And I believe, yeah, those are flowers here. But to me, the shape of them look like anatomical hearts. So this is about being in that light body while also being grounded, right? These are plants. Being in that light body while also being grounded, and finding the balance between the two, between your spirit self and how that integrates in your earthly self. And this one, they do, like I said, have a great deal of information on the back. So I'm going to share some of that with you while you look at the card. So this is card number 37, if the number is lucky to anyone. It's a card of illumination, and it says, as darkness comes, the mirrors of your spirit, of course we're working with mirrors again, the mirrors of your spirit reflect different images. It is the time when the world changes and your being begins to glow. Reflect on the new vision that has been living on the perimeter of your consciousness. An idea is stalking you and awaits your invitation, a place within you to begin life new. The totality of your creativity comes after you have begun your work on the sacred painting of your life. Like eagles and cheer... Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped that version. On the painting of your life. It is then that the muses of inspiration surround you like eagles and cheer you on into illumination. Take responsibility for your work and your life, and then illumination will follow. So that's beautiful, and that's very true. And actually, it reminds me, I'm going to post in my stories a petition link if you want to sign it to protect those eagles, because I've been working with them in spirit quite fervently, and I really love that energy. I'm just asking them if I can, yes, I can share with you. I've been learning some Anishinaabe indigenous language in honor of that spirit self and that spirit tribe that's revealed themselves to me, and they taught me that the Anishinaabe word for eagle is 𝑓. So if that resonates with you as well, I actually know of someone else who awakened to Anishinaabe spirit self recently, so that's something else that's coming up in a lot of the ethers, I suppose. But they're also called the Ojibwe Nation, if that resonates more, because I know different areas have different names. But even if it doesn't, eagle is a helpful ally for everyone. There are different forms of eagle in almost every part of the world. So it doesn't have to be the traditional bald eagle like we have where I am in America. It could be any version of eagle. They will all symbolize that very high perspective, that level of clarity, and that level of power in connecting with love and spirit. And what a beautiful affirmation that this card and this energy and this painting also referenced mirrors. So if you are a twin flame and you want to reset that mirror back to you and back to your own inner divinity, check out that link in my bio for the next incarnation coming up on April 24th of the Twin Flame Healing Intensive. I'm really excited about that. I'm excited for more people who resonated as twin to come into this new way of being where we're not limiting ourselves to one way, one person, one path to ascension. I really find that's key, and although that was so important in the earlier versions of our journey to get us to this place, it's more important from the perspective that I have to now come to this new place where we are in our power and we don't need those things. We don't need those limits on us anymore. And while sometimes we can still have the people in our life, they don't need to be the thing that places a limit on us in terms of how we're able to take the path to ascension, to wholeness, to union or inner union. And I'm really excited to see what becomes of the world when more people are in that energy of believing in themselves and creating and manifesting from that place, and the new love that gets to come in and step in when we allow it to be more limitless for us. So whether that happens for you in your own work that you do, or whether it happens because of this twin flame work, or because of something else that you learned in your Akash, whether I'm your reader or not, I really thank you for that, because those energies are huge right now. And although there are very big and terrible things happening on the planet, again, the biggest thing that we could do is work on ourselves to the point where we have enough positive energy for ourselves, and then more than enough to share in overflow to actually make a difference with those other things as well, instead of just kind of pushing the same dirt around the room. Basically, that's what Spirit just showed me. It's like when you clean a room and when you're sweeping, and if you just keep pushing the same around instead of actually hoovering it up or bin sweeping it up and taking it out before you keep sweeping things around. So that's a good example. There was one more card that wanted to come through for the collective, and again, if you have a question before I go, feel free to ask. But this is Buddha sitting in a forest, and that's a lotus behind him, but it appeared to me first as a flame. So more twin flame work, I suppose. But also maybe a symbol of burnout for some of you. I know a lot of people are clearing burnout, or on the other end of the spectrum, because it's Aries season, working to harness the fire, you know, the new fire that may be coming through. So this one is card 27. So we had 37 before. This is the direction of north and the color energy of white. And this one says the person who upsets you most in your life is the one who is your best teacher. So that's probably why it appeared as a flame, because a lot of people were most upset by the twin flame, or parents. You know, I know that we have a lot of people who have heard us to be our best teachers. And then it also says, if that person can get inside your head, turn you around, and confuse you, you know that you still don't understand what you are doing or who you are. You need more strength. Learn by seeing that your life is a teaching. Like the red lotus healing its pain in inner solitude, gain strength from entering your wounds and learn from them. The magician remembers to take the trail that leads to a different one, even if it is more difficult. In this way, you build strength. So that's perfect. That's a perfect way to wrap up, and a channeled message that I also received and almost forgot. So thank you, cards and Spirit. I wanted to say, whether this resonates for you as a twin flame or not, if you are at any place in your life where you are choosing to take a different path, I want you to know it is not giving up to choose a different path. Okay, so let that sink in, because I know that so many of us are programmed to believe that choosing something different is giving up. And it's that way only if you see it that way and agree for it to be that way. It is not giving up to see that something may no longer be what's best for you, and see that there may be something else that's healthier or higher or more fulfilling or more loving for you, and to choose that path instead and pivot to or quantum leap to that path instead. It's not giving up to heal something and move on, you know. And of course this resonates with the twin flame work that we've been doing, but it's really anything in life, because so many souls are wrapping up cycles right now, We're making big decisions. You know, we're moving forward in a lot of things, and life will ask us if we're ready to give up something, you know, and we're kind of trained that releasing or surrendering or giving up anything is giving up, is failing, when instead it's just using our power to choose something different. So if you are choosing something different, I really applaud you. You know, trust the signs and symbols and the feelings that are helping you to choose something different and asking you to choose something different, and trust the due diligence that I know that you've done in exploring all the ways to see if there was a way to stay the path and stay the course, or if it's time to choose a new one. And if it is time to choose a new one for you, you know, I encourage you to do the work of honoring that and honoring yourself and speaking to the inner children and the little ones that have been taught that it's wrong, or it's giving up, or it's failing, or you're not good enough, or you're not strong enough to go through with the path that you thought you wanted or that you were told to believe in. It's more courageous to choose what you want and what spirit and your heart and soul are choosing to show you may be better for you, and work to go for that, because that is often the path less taken and it's the path less trusted. But if your soul is asking you to trust it, I ask you to trust that and honor that, and try to enjoy the journey and reassure yourself that it's right for you, even if it's not right for everyone, and that you are absolutely not giving up and you are not a failure. You are being a pioneer and a brave and sometimes fearless, sometimes not, and that's okay too, leader. Whatever your feelings are when you're doing such things are okay. Honor them as they come up, and learn to appreciate the moments that show you that you are already strong enough to take the path that Spirit is helping to lay out for you for however long you're meant to be on that path, right? Just like we were talking earlier about people that get attached to things in the Akashic records, when, you know, like we saw Buddha, the point is a lot of non-attachment. Hey, you know, it's the same thing. It's the same thing in terms of try not to get attached to the path, because it confuses the issue. It stops us from enjoying the path. It stops us from enjoying our life, and it derails us actually from paying attention to signs and things that come up that may say, hey, there's a great turn over here, over this way. Thank you. Happy Friday. Happy Goddess and Freya Venus Day. But yeah, it derails us and distracts us from taking a turn or a pivot that may be really beautiful and beneficial to us on the journey. So especially as, like we were speaking about, the Akashic records are reopening to many, many souls, enjoy the process that shows you that you are always co-creating. But if you get too mired down in trying to follow the path that somebody else has laid out for you, or a teacher has laid out for you, or even your own soul laid out for you long ago, then you're going to fail to take back your power or see all the other opportunities that come up through the quantum and through the universe for you to also co-create a new path, or a healthier path, or a more prosperous or lucky or fulfilling path. So I hope that helps. Margot, if you have a question, you can feel free to ask that, but I'm going to wrap up and go here soon as well. I have some power deck cards out if you want one, but I was also announcing that the next incarnation of Twin Flame healing templates is already up on my website. That is coming out April 24th. We start, so tickets are already available. And starting next Friday, we're going to jump back into Friday Night Live group readings. So those are going to be on Zoom too. And Akashic Records readings are up on the website, which those of you who were in the first incarnation of twin flame template healing, you remember that you have your discount code, your discount coupon code for any of the sessions I offer. So you can also use that for up to a year, up until next March 2023, for any of the sessions on my website, including the Akashic Records readings, including the Quantum Couples readings. So enjoy that whenever you're called to use it. Oh yes, that would be great. Oh, sure. So do you just want a general sort of check-in, or do you have a specific question? Actually, I got back out the romance, the angels, romance angels cards, I think it is, Doreen Virtue. I haven't used these in years, but they wanted to come out because twins, you know, twin flame template, we're healing that and healing people, so maybe someone wants that. Probably you, Margot. Do you want a question for the romance angels? Because I felt called to it. Okay, you just want to see what comes out, so let's check out the romance angels. So that's interesting. Pay attention to the red flags. So let's get a clarifier on that, because that's not clear enough, although you may know what it is already. But I'm feeling like red flags are actually not as much romance for you. It's just that that's the card that would have that phrase on it, as they are life and career, maybe also family. I'm feeling some family red flags and other type of relationship red flags. So pay attention to those. I'm feeling a lot of shifting in other relationships other than romance. That a lot of red flags may start to come up in. And I feel like there's also one platonic relationship, so that's friend or family, where there are a mixed bag of green and red flags. So pay attention to that one relationship where there are the green and red flags kind of together, because it may be more difficult to discern between the two, because they're currently coming from the same source or the same person or same, you know, very small group of people in family. So in that circumstance, I would say take a step back. I'll read the comment in a second, but take a step back and don't be afraid to tell those people that you need a minute. And you don't have to tell them why, but just, you know, you can say you're busy right now, or you'll just get back to them with no explanation. But you're going to need more distance and more discernment from this group of people so that you can differentiate between which is a green flag and which is a red flag, because there's a lot of new boundary setting in those relationships now that karmas have shifted, and you want to make sure that you're only going forward when the green flags are coming up, and that you're continuing to distance when the red flags come up. So let me just read this. Yeah, career, friends, and family are very big this week. Okay, so let's just get, I was going to say a power card, but no, they want to do these instead. So let's see. That was more friends and family, but let's see career. Actually, career, music came up. So these are angel healing cards, I think they were. I don't know, I went through all my old stuff and Spirit was like, yeah, use the old stuff. So music came up. So if part of your career in music is calling to you this week, or if you're looking to expand some opportunities in career, I would look back into music. Now, whether that is actually doing a professional job or exploration in music, or whether that's just reincorporating music back into your practice in terms of energy raising or energy healing before you do work or as you do work, that's going to be up to you. Okay, yeah, the really clear intuition that I'm getting is to trust my intuition when I feel the red flags. I've second-guessed myself in the past. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. But that definitely confirms and checks out with what Spirit showed me. And they just said, it's not that you're doing it wrong, it's just that you need more space to discern and not have to second guess yourself. The reason you're second guessing, or the main reason, is also because you're so close to the people and their energy still while you're trying to check it and while you're trying to discern between the flags. So taking that space back will help you to be more in your own energy and more in your own intuition rather than have theirs cloud it. I just started having the confidence to sing again. Yay! I have a degree in musical theater. That's awesome. I'm a big musical theater fan. So that checks out with what they said. That's a path of your career. Like we were talking about when you came in, don't be afraid to choose a different path or go back to a path, right? The way that I was drawn back to these cards that I haven't used in years. Some of them are from the beginning of my career, like 15 years old, some of these are. So don't be afraid to choose a different path or go back to a path that is calling to you. And know that if you're going back to a path, it doesn't mean, and you don't have to tell yourself that it means you're going backwards. You get to do it now in a different way, from your higher perspective, from your more healed self, and from a place where you're more conscious, so that you don't necessarily have to make the same mistakes or the same pitfalls or have the same energy traps or drains or strains that you had in the past. So for example, like with music, how can you come at it from a new perspective now that you've healed as much as you have? How can you incorporate spiritual practice into it? Maybe when you started your musical theater degree, you didn't have as much experience with energy work. Maybe do some prana breathing before you go to sing, or some energy clearing, or some throat chakra work. So the throat chakra is, the seed mantra for the throat chakra is Ham in Sanskrit. So, and in Buddhism and Hinduism. So Ham, H-A-M, saying that over and over helps to open up and heal the throat chakra. That's something else that you could do in terms of honoring your chakra system while you go to re-explore music and singing and musical theater and reignite your passions in a more combined way. But good, I'm so glad it's clear and helpful. But yeah, unless anybody has any other questions, I'm going to save this live, and if you want to go back, if you hopped in late, yes, energy clearing before you sing, you can't wait. Let me know how it goes, because that's something that I've done too, and I will also say, because I love to sing, but it's not part of my career path, except in that it helps me have a really great throat chakra and it's something I enjoy. Sometimes I use it in meditations and stuff, but I will also say you don't need to get very, very attached to applying it, in terms of if you forget to do it one day or if you don't feel like doing it one day, that's perfectly fine. Honor that. Also know that just singing for fun and not judging yourself or not trying to hit certain notes is also a way to clear the throat chakra and honor the throat chakra. So I know for a lot of us, we're really big perfectionists, and we want to hit the notes, or we want to sound like the specific people or the specific way that a song is supposed to sound. But try not to be attached to that, and try to do it for fun sometimes too, in ways where we're not trying to do specific things, and just seeing what comes out and having fun, because that's also a way to energy clear. Spirit reminds me of that all the time, that doing music and listening to music and singing in ways that are not for an offering or for a specific outcome or for sounding a certain way, and that are just for me having fun and enjoying the energy, it's so invigorating. It taps you back into source and your higher self more clearly than almost anything I've found. So have fun with it too. Hi Jess, thank you for coming in. But yeah, that's gonna be it for tonight. I'm gonna save this live and I will try to repost it on the YouTube as well. You're so welcome. Thank you for your work and your sharing of your gifts in the world, and thank you for being part of what you have and being here. I really appreciate it, and I'm so thankful for how we've gotten to work together and how it's already opened up the ways to work with other people, for both new people that I get to work with in this new way with the new offerings that I have, and how you'll get to work with it in ways going forward for your people too. Yes, you're right. Singing is pure communication. Thank you. I hope you have a great rest of your night too. Feel free to go back and look at what we talked about in terms of Akashic records and past lives, because that may help you out with some other things that you were going through. My nose is getting clogged, so that's probably another spirit, because I had some spirit that wanted to come through and people were just not ready to join the Friday Night Live Zoom readings this week. So they'll have to wait until next week. But feel free to recommend that to your friends too, you guys. If anybody you know needs a group reading or a quickie reading or the Akashic readings, I appreciate you recommending. Those of you who are in the Twin Flame template course, if you have reviews or testimonials or recommendations that you'd like to do, I'd really appreciate getting those, because I am promoting the next incarnation now, and I would love for people to hear your experience and maybe have it help them influence their decision to join and choose that other path, like the channeled message that came through before. So I will see you guys soon. I will try to hop on live more, I promise. And I'm signing off for the night, sending you love, light, and light codes. Love, Danielle, #damsel, @𝑇�𓋹𓓓𝋴, damseldesigns.com. Bye for now. Love you guys.